Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the SmoovePlayz podcast. I'm Austin House and Plays, joined by Dean, aka Mr. Smooth, and it is week 4. Thursday is here, and that means we got Thursday night football. Dean, how we doing?
I'm great, my friend. How you doing?
I mean, hey, I'm chilling and ready to talk about a Thursday night battle between two division rivals, and in a division that honestly, through the first 3 weeks, I think is wide open. I think every team has a very fair shot and a fair case to say we can win our division, and that is the NFC West. This game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. So, Dean, what do we what do we got going into this one? I mean, big storylines for I think the biggest one obviously week 3 has to be James Conner going out, and he's done for the year for Arizona, and that means that Trey Benson's going to get the call. What are your thoughts on James Conner going out and Trey Benson being RB1 for Arizona? What do you think that'll look like?
Well, it sucks to see James Conner get hurt. I mean, James Conner's just a good dude. You don't want to see anyone get hurt, but like especially these guys who everyone likes, everyone roots for. He's had a great career, and hopefully we'll see him be able to come back from that. That's a tough injury, but with Trey Benson on the field at this point in James Conner's career, I mean, this probably isn't even a hot take, but I actually think the Cardinals' run game is going to be better with Trey Benson and more carries. I think Trey Benson is explosive. I was ready for him to have, actually, he's been involved in the offense though, but I was expecting him to, really kind of not have a breakout year, but an underrated year because I love Trey Benson. Obviously, I'm a Florida State guy, so I watched him a lot there. But I think for the Cardinals offense as a whole, having Trey Benson on the field more is actually going to be better for them.
Yeah, I like Trey Benson being on the field. Again, not to take away anything from James Conner, obviously, circumstances. This isn't how you like to see somebody get, pushed into a starting role. Um, but Trey Benson's a guy that has a lot of talent, and I think he is very explosive, is more explosive in terms of big play ability than James Conner. But a big thing for him has just been workload. Like when he's on the field, he's productive, and he's just hasn't really had the workload because he's kind of just been buried on the depth chart behind James Conner. And we started to see this year him get more touches and be more involved, and it looked like Arizona was going to kind of go after more of a two-headed running attack, kind of similar to like what Detroit has. But now, I mean, it's Trey Benson's time to shine, and I think Trey Benson is going to take full advantage of that. And I expect I expect Trey Benson to be a fantasy league winner for a lot of people. I think he's a guy that by the end of the year can definitely end up being like a top 10 running back in fantasy.
Oh, I 100% agree with that.
What about Seattle? All right. So we got Arizona losing their starting running back in James Conner. We got Trey Benson back, but for Seattle, I think a big thing for Seattle is getting what is it? Reinforcements. The reinforcements have arrived in Seattle, and I'm talking about Devon Witherspoon, who honestly I, I don't know. Where would you rank Devon Witherspoon, honestly, in the NFL in terms of cornerbacks?
I mean, after his rookie year, I don't want to have recency bias, so I'll say top seven.
I
He's
mean,
he's a
pretty damn high
top,
for a guy that, we've got a small sample size of.
yeah, he's up there. He's a very, very good cornerback. I was just gonna ask you one interesting thing about this game. I know this Arizona D line, I think the biggest point for me for Seattle, and it's gonna be a point for me the whole year, is trying to just keep Sam Darnold clean. Because I think whenever he's under pressure, he's a lot different quarterback than whenever, a team's not getting pressure on him.
Yeah, I agree. I look at Sam Darnold, and honestly, like so far it's all again small sample size, only 3 weeks in, but I see, you know, glimpses of, what we saw in Minnesota. I think that Seattle, like, they got a good quarterback, and I think that they made a good choice in signing him. Um, and I think he can lead this team. But like you said, keeping him clean, keeping, the pressure off. Seattle's O line hasn't been very good in the past, and isn't that great, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, but like you said, if Sam Darnold's under pressure, that's kind of where we see flashes of, New York Jets Sam Darnold, and he's just kind of forced to try to make something happen that isn't actually there because he's just always under pressure. So I think they definitely got to keep Sam Darnold clean, but I want to go back to Devon Witherspoon. I think a big thing that Devon Witherspoon is going to do is really reassure the middle part of this pass defense. This Seattle team is very good so far through 3 weeks on defending passes outside the numbers, but they are very, very weak. Like one of the worst teams in the NFL at defending passes over the middle of the field. Having Devon Witherspoon back, he's gonna be sliding into that nickel role, and he's going to really reassure the middle part of the defense for Seattle. And a team like Arizona, they're going to be going at you with guys like Trey McBride over the middle. I know I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but if you're going to slow down Arizona, you got to take away Trey McBride over the middle. Um, we'll see what happens. That's kind of what I'm expecting from Seattle. And I think this is a good point to go ahead and just dive right into it, Dean. What do you think Seattle needs to do to win this game?
Well, Seattle, one thing I think Seattle needs to do, obviously keep Darnold clean, like we said, but I think a guy that should be just getting the ball more in general is Kenneth Walker. Um, Listen, I get I get not, killing your running back every game and getting guys like Zach Charbonnet involved. I think Kenneth Walker, especially in terms of just breaking tackles and making guys miss, he's up there with the best in the league. I think they need to get him the ball, need to be able to run the ball. And like you said, with Witherspoon and Love back, I mean, this Seattle secondary is very talented. So, and Kyler has proven to be, you can get pressure on him, and he's proven to make some mistakes sometimes. And also, a little note for this game, Seattle has actually beaten Arizona 7 times in a row. So yeah, I think that's my key. Get Kenneth Walker the ball, keeps Darnold upright, and be opportunistic on defense against a guy like Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if Seattle is going to win this game, you mentioned keeping Sam Darnold upright. I like the note of getting Kenneth Walker more touches, but I don't think that's going to be the end all be all where Seattle needs to attack this Arizona team. This Arizona team is still reeling with injuries in their secondary. And I think that with guys like JSN and Cooper Cup, these are guys that I think they gotta kind of work out of the slot and attack Arizona out of the slot. Just let them, take advantage of mismatches because JSN and Cooper Cup, I don't care, even talking about Cooper Cup at this point in his career, you know, he's not somebody you can sleep on. He's gonna be, somebody that's gonna give your defense a handful and you got to account for. So I think keeping Sam Darnold clean and trying to get the ball to JSN and Cooper Cup and let them just, you know, create separation on the routes and whatnot is going to be a big part. And then, like you said, getting Witherspoon and Love back, I think reassuring the back half of the Seattle team. I think the Seattle team is in a really good spot here on the road. Even though it's a divisional game, I think that Seattle is just, they're I feel like they're in a good spot. That's all I'll say for now.
No, I do. I agree with you. They're in a good spot. I like this team, and also I agree with what you said. Jackson Smith and Jigba's second in the NFL in receiving yards through 3 weeks. So, I mean, he on pace to have a great year.
Yeah. Um all right. So we talked about Seattle and now we're looking at Arizona. Um what are your thoughts on Arizona? I mean, according to ESPN the matchup prediction has them 52% chance to win this game. So they are favored to win, but Vegas still has Seattle. I mean, what are your thoughts on Arizona? And do you think that, do you think they what does their recipe look like?
I mean, missing Zay Jones, I think is going to hurt them a little bit, which isn't a big name, but their receiving core is not the deepest in the league. So I think missing him is going to hurt a little bit. I think the key to them on offense is, like you said, this. I know Witherspoon's coming back, but over the middle of the field, Seattle isn't the best. So this has got to be a game that Trey McBride eats. And I know that you already kind of mentioned that, but we know how good Trey McBride is. And let's be honest. I mean, does Kyler even look at like he only throws to Trey McBride? Marvin Harrison never gets the ball. And I know he had that big drop last week. So I'm not excusing him for that. But yeah, Trey McBride, big game. And kind of the same thing we said about Sam Darnold. See if this D line can get after Seattle. I know Calais Campbell is actually leading them in sacks right now with two. I want to see a guy like, Josh Sweat, who they signed in the offseason, make a couple plays tonight. Like Will Johnson, like you mentioned, is out. Their secondary is thin, so that defensive line has got to take over this game, I think, for Arizona. They got to control the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I love what you said about the defensive line. I was gonna say something similar. I like, Josh Sweat, big free agent signing. He had a great Super Bowl game against the Chiefs for Philly, and I think that's really what drove him to become a top target in free agency. And yeah, you sign a guy like Josh Sweat to create havoc for a quarterback, and we already talked about Seattle's O line. Um, yeah, they got to get after Sam Darnold point blank, because they're beat up in the secondary, and that's kind of where you're going to create good pass defenses by pressuring the quarterback. Um, but I also look at, this Arizona team, and yes, the middle and as far as the pass game, middle of the field is has been the weakness, but I don't think that the middle of the field, I don't think the passing game is going to be the recipe for beating a team like Seattle right now, getting guys back. I don't know if I don't know if I think that's going to be the recipe. I think it's ultimately going to come down to the run game. I think it's going to come down to, Trey Benson. He's going to be RB1. I think he needs to get, 15 plus carries and, you know, potentially even 20, like just 20 touches. I think you got to try and get the ball in his hands and see what he can do out in space. But then also Kyler Murray, his ability to extend a play and even draw up some run play, like designed runs for him, I don't think is the worst thing in the world. I know you want to, keep your quarterback healthy and, limit him taking hits and stuff, but Kyler Murray is still very explosive with his legs, and I think that the more that you can get him using his legs, the better. He's not a guy that's just going to sit back in the pocket and throw darts over the middle of the field. He's a guy that kind of needs to get out of the pocket because he is a smaller quarterback. He needs to get out of the pocket, get clear throwing lanes, and that's where he's going to excel. And Arizona hasn't been one of the best. They haven't really been that good, honestly, passing over the middle of the field. A lot of their passes they try to attack outside the numbers. So not ideal. If they can find a way to get passes over the middle, whether it's extending, who knows? I think that'll be good for them. But I think that the run game is going to be the recipe for Arizona, and then, like you said, getting pressure on Sam Darnold is going to be what they need to do defensively in order to really have a chance to knock off Seattle, who I think is coming. They're just going to get better as the year goes on.
Yeah, I agree with that point. I like what you said about the Kyler Murray run game. I do want to see them maybe drop a couple design runs to get him going. And maybe a Trey Benson breakout game on Thursday Night Football.
Hey, you could be. I mean, I look, we always look for a breakout guy in these primetime games, and I mean, Trey Benson looks like, the shining star. It's like all the stars are aligning, and it's gonna be his time. So who knows? But without wasting any more time, who you got winning this game, Dean?
You know, when I originally saw this matchup, I liked Arizona. And then the more and more I've been thinking about it, I've definitely gone back to Seattle. Seattle has beaten them 7 straight times. Seattle also has a 7 game active road win streak. So they've won, which is actually a franchise record.
That's
Um,
impressive. Not gonna
yes,
lie, that's impressive.
especially under Mike McDonald, who it's I mean his second year there, third year, so he's that's impressive. Seven in a row on the road. I just feel like all the signs in the world are pointing at me to pick Seattle. Therefore, I'm picking Arizona.
You just love going against the grain.
Yeah, I
You
do.
ignore every sign and glaring light that's telling you to go one way. You just completely ignore it. And honestly, am I gonna go with you? Because look, Arizona, I've said it before, is a team that whenever they play these bad teams, like they played the Saints and they played the Panthers, right? They didn't look crazy, right? They kind of played down to that level of talent. And then they're coming off a game where they didn't really look that great against San Francisco. But now they're playing the Seattle Seahawks back-to-back division games, right? They lost the first one, and you don't want to fall to 0 and 2 in the division. So, especially like early on. Well, Arizona's got something to fight for, I think, in this one, and I think that they're going to be motivated and driven to really come out and with a point to establish either the run game or just you know establish a physicality against this Seattle team, who I think honestly they can. I think that they can, and I think that I want to ride with Arizona. I think Trey McBride, yeah, he's the number one target, and for good reason. He is a top three tight end in the NFL. Um, he needs to show up for you. He needs to find the end zone. That's something that he needs. Like he needs to find the end zone, right? It's cool. Like he's gonna have 7, 8 catches for 90 something yards or 100 something yards and no touchdowns. He needs to find the end zone. I need like that's what you need if you're Arizona. But also Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison needs to honestly, he just needs to get the ball. Like, I don't know, like, there's no reason that a guy like him and a guy like Kyler Murray, with the talent that they both have, they can't get on the same page. I think that I don't know what needs to happen for them to figure it out, but they got to figure it out. And just getting him looks, I think, is going to be the recipe. But then I think we can talk about it now, breaking out Trey Benson. Um, I think this is going to be his opportunity to show up and kind of be that X factor that is going to make a difference for this Arizona offense.
Yeah, I agree with you there. One thing that I'll say on what you just said is I don't know, like you said, I don't know what it is with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison, but I'm almost at the point where I am convinced that they're just not going to work together. And I know it's early, but like they just don't seem on the same page. Like I see a play where they're not on the same page. It feels like every game when I'm
Yeah,
watching the Cardinals.
yeah,
Uh,
and I mean, I know you've seen interviews and stuff about Kyler. People talk about it all the time about him, getting him looks and getting him targets, and Kyler Murray's just like he's like
that's
that's
not my
not my
job.
job, like to throw him the. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's
Yeah,
literally your job is to throw to the guys that you're spending top fourth overall picks on.
yeah,
Like
uh,
it's
yeah.
crazy,
I don't know.
but all
But
right.
who's your pick? Let's hear it.
I
You,
tell you, I'm taking Arizona.
oh, I didn't hear you say you're taking Arizona at the
Oh
end.
yeah, no, I'm taking Arizona. If that wasn't clear, I'm taking Arizona.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's hear your touchdown, guys, at Trey McBride.
I think it's got to be Trey McBride, but I also would love to see my guy Trey Benson find the end zone.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm gonna go with what we were talking about earlier. I'm gonna go with Kyler Murray. Why can't Kyler Murray, be down inside the 10 and get a little scramble drill in the end zone? So Kyler Murray is my touchdown scorer.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers everything. Is there anything we missed that you can think of that before we wrap this thing up?
I don't believe so. I don't think so.
All right. Well, if you got nothing else, I got nothing else. Let's just sit back and enjoy a nice divisional battle in prime time, man, because primetime games have been good so far. Hopefully it stays the same. Um, we appreciate y'all tuning in, and if you aren't subscribed and want to see more, make sure you're subscribed, like the video if you enjoyed it, and then down in the comments section, let us know your thoughts on this divisional game between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Who do you have winning? What are your expectations for guys? Who's a guy on your fantasy team that you need to really show up for you? Um, but yeah, I got nothing else. Dean, you got nothing else. As always, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.